I'm Jonathan Clarke, and for the next hour, I'll be chatting with the Black Crowes singer Chris Robinson about the band's almost 20-year history and how they got to their brand new album, Warpaint. First, let's take a listen to the song that launched the band's career into the multi-platinum ranks. From Shake Your Moneymaker, It's Hard to Handle, on Putting on the Warpaint, the Black Crowes today. Shake Your Moneymaker, That's Hard to Handle, and now let's welcome in the voice of that song and many other great tracks, Chris Robinson. Welcome, man.
It's really still, in my mind, it's Otis Redding's song, which is a matter of great confusion and anger, because there's a whole group of people who think it's a Grateful Dead song, and then there's other people who think it's a Black Crowes song. But I'm here to tell you, no matter what, some people think it's a Tom Jones song.
Really? I haven't heard that one. I heard the Dead.
He does a great version of it from the Flamenco Hotel, like 69.
Oh, live version?
Yeah, it's really
wow.
good, really good.
Well, you guys made it your own, though, really. I mean, that's sort of like important to cover somebody's song.
No, totally. And it's a great starting point for like you said, for where we went. Otis, of course, to me, being my favorite soul singer, and also being from right down the road in Macon, Georgia.
Right. You, Rich, and Steve Gorman have been working together for 20 years now.
Yeah, actually, Steve Gorman, sometimes he's referred to as my Steve Gorman. I don't know why. I have no legal documentation or papers owning him. But he texted me a couple days ago. It was 21 years that he moved to Atlanta. And I texted him back, don't ever mention that again.
What is it that kept you guys together through all these sort of, comings and
desperation
goings in the band?
Just quiet desperation, really. You know what it is, man? I mean, it's still interesting. It's still dynamic. It's still, music is always that for me. I mean, the reality is, when you're doing something that you love, when you're doing something that you're passionate about, those are the situations where time does become a very abstract concept. It becomes malleable. Music is the great example of that. Your most amazing moment in a concert, time stops. Making love, that happens. You can explore multi-dimensional consciousness, and those things happen. And in a sense, that's what it's about. We make a very specific sound, this group of people. I mean, the whole thing really began because of my brother and I's interest in songwriting. The writing always came first, before performance, before conceptualization, before, a career. I imagine other people get into it other ways. Sometimes people are, the performance is the thing, and the look, or the whatever. And we started from the ground up. We wanted that architecture of what we do to be the thing that interests us the most.
Well, how about this 4-year hiatus from the band?
Well, what about it?
Was that good for you guys mentally, musically, physically?
Totally. I mean, that's the other thing. Change is inevitable. Change is good. And as Miles Davis says, music changes the musician. Music changes you. 10 years of the Black Crowes, from 23 to 33, that's a lot of time in our little phosphorescent submarine, going around. And I made the decision to do it. I needed to do it for me. I needed to do it because my music was changing. I had never been in a place where I got to make a musical statement that really was who I am, which has very little to do with the Black Crowes, to be honest. I mean, the Black Crowes are all of us, and in a Black Crowes sort of attitude or fashion or whatever. I mean, like, our music is dynamic. It's blues based. It's R&B based. It's funk based. It's psychedelic based. So for me to get out of that and do something else, and I had also at the same time I'd fallen in love. I'd never had that experience before, and I needed to change my vantage point. I needed to change my perception of things. If at the time, I'm sure that some people in our commune were upset, but that hardly was anything that, again, that was part of it. That's part of the, transcending what has been. Break it back. Sometimes you got to break it down to figure out what's important and what's interesting to you. If Warpaint doesn't happen, if Rich and I don't write these songs, I can't tell you that it's not time for another hiatus. But that's not the way it turned out. We listened to our instinctual selves, and we found our way to this group of music. And within that, Luther Dickinson joining the band, Adam McDougall joining the band. Now we're in a new dynamic. Now we have all these new things to say. And we have some people a little bit younger, and and they have a tremendous contribution to our dialogue musically, and then you're in this vital place, man.
Well, speaking of this new material, you say the first single for this great new album, Goodbye Daughters of the Revolution, is about, quote, paranoid utopian blues.
Yeah.
Well, expand on that for our listeners who may not have heard the track yet.
Well, it's a rock and roll song, so the imagery and stuff is going to be taken from people who understand what that is. There's a lot of people who aren't representative or represented, that is, in media. Especially if we're just talking about music. Everything is very clean and put together. Everything is very precise, and everything is very calculated, and everything is basically for promotion. And we weren't good at promoting ourselves. We're still not. We're good at expressing ourselves. And Goodbye Daughters of the Revolution is that tongue-in-cheek sort of idea about, hey man, we before we sat down, we're discussing some people and their philosophy of hatred or fear. And what we're saying is there are people who also like to use the word freedom quite a bit. Now, how their freedom means more than an illegal immigrant's, I don't get it. Or while their freedom means more because they worship this person in a controlled, systematic environment, I don't get it. Because if you're going to talk about concepts like freedom, you better realize that those ships are going up and down the harbor, dude. It's a 2-lane road. And my freedom's just as valid as yours. And in a sense, that's what good rock and roll music should be. In a sense, that's why the Rolling Stones were so important to us, especially 68, 72 Stones, when a band could totally represent the underground. A band could totally have credibility in a counterculture sense when you had to walk it and talk it, when you just couldn't dress up in any old thing. Because, by the way, the bands that tried that, they still don't have any respect. The Grateful Dead were the same thing. Bands that really, flew that banner proudly. The Stones were interesting because they took a lot of American roots music forms and made something completely different. That's the inspiration of English rock music, to put that English aesthetic in it. But it was influential when you can say a lot of things. You can be provocative. You can be anything. And then it comes wrapped up in this like rock and roll package, That's freedom to us. And I think that's the real theme of this record. And Goodbye Daughters of the Revolution is just kind of the way to start it all.
That's Goodbye Daughters of the Revolution from the Black Crowes' new album, War Paint. We'll have more with Chris Robinson coming up. Welcome back to Putting on the War Paint, the Black Crowes today. I'm Jonathan Clarke, talking with the Black Crowes' Chris Robinson about their brand new album, War Paint, that's in stores this week. So, Chris, none of this material has been played live yet?
No, that's really... That's also like the super kind of cool thing with this tour that we start here. We kind of felt that, like I said, this record really galvanized us as a group again. And, we've always been passionate about the project as it's coming along. But I think this record is an important part for us. We feel that. So it'd be nice to take these songs and let them have their little space in the spotlight before they get put in the big mashup of like Black Crowes catalog and the tour to just take a little bit of time to focus on the record and let it stand on its own. I was teasing the other day, it's like the it's like the 50-something-year-old like actor who, after his first wife with the woman that helped him through everything, like dumps her and then gets like a hot new wife.
20-something. Yeah.
Well,